Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the 3 Minute Horror Show. Today I'll be interviewing a legendary filmmaker who's been creating indie horror out in Oregon since the mid 90s. It's Joe Sherlock. Joe, I'm so glad that you took time out of your schedule to sit down and talk to my audience and I about your career in independent filmmaking.
Thanks for having me, man. It's great. It's great to be here.
Before we get started, would you like to give the audience a little background on yourself?
I don't know how deep you want me to go. I mean, I always say I've been making micro budget, uh, micro budget productions really since 1995. So, like last year, I celebrated my 30 years of making this stuff. I mean, I started like a lot of people with my dad's Super 8 film camera when I was like in middle school and high
Yeah.
school, just making little shorts. And then we got a VHS. Actually, my friend first got a VHS video camera, and then our family got one. And so then I was making fake commercials and skits and just goofball stuff and shorts and
Yeah.
and then some sort of sci-fi and horror shorts. I always loved sci-fi and horror movies, so we do the thing. I had a fake rubber hand, so somebody would always get their hand cut off in one of my little short movies because we had a rubber hand. um and just goofing around. I was in a garage band in college, and so made some music videos. And then, yeah, it was 95. I decided, I'm going to try to do something a little more serious,
Yeah.
and take it more seriously. Not that I guess it was a little more serious, but take it more seriously. And that was the days of, like, I found out about Draculina magazine and this whole world of really micro budget backyard filmmakers. And, so Dimension of Blood was the first
Yeah.
thing that I really tried to do, as a real movie, as it were. I don't know if that's what you were looking for
Yeah, that's the kind of
background.
thing I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So would you say that you've always been a creative person then, right from the beginning?
Oh yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, I even when I was a little kid, I mean, I would draw all the time. I drew my own comics, created my own superheroes and
Yeah.
and even like comedy characters, and I would draw my own comic books and stuff like that. I was way into horror movies, science fiction, Greek mythology, mainly
Yeah.
because of all the monsters.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, as a kid growing up, I was into all that stuff. Very creative. I, would play my after Star Wars came out. My friends, that's what we'd play on the playground. Was we'd
Hmm.
act out new Star Wars stories with those characters. So yeah, it was always very creative
Yeah.
kid.
What kind of a kid were you otherwise?
Um, oh, I I think I had a pretty good time. I grew up in New Jersey till I was 11, and there was a horror host out of Philadelphia, Dr. Shock, and
Okay.
he had a show on Saturdays afternoons, a double feature that I would watch. And so I was exposed to a lot of the classic black and white horror movies, Universal movies, etc., through him. And that, so that really built up my love of that type of stuff. And like I said, drew my comic books, but I was a child of the late 70s, early 80s, so I'd ride my bike all over the place.
Yeah.
And I mean, video games were, it was, I was in high school, late high school, when really you would go, actually early high school, I guess, you would actually go usually rent a VCR, because not even everybody had a VCR.
Yep.
So you'd rent a VCR, some movies, have a sleepover with your friends, and do that. And then eventually we are actually renting Nintendos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I said, I like when I was in college, we right out of high school actually got a little garage band together. And so, making music, making art, making comics,
Yeah.
making videos, always doing that type of stuff.
So what do you play musically? Because I know your son Connor plays guitar and he plays guitar very well.
Thanks. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I play drums,
Yeah.
and actually got a bass a couple years ago, and so mess around on that a little bit. But for a lot of the movie music, early on, it was keyboards. I had multiple keyboards. Actually,
Yeah.
I think you can see one in the corner
Yeah,
here.
I can see one there.
Um, but it was like early on, it was primitive stuff. I had like a 4-track recorder, and even before
Yeah.
that, I literally had a couple tape recorders, and I had them, connected up to a couple different keyboards, and I would record some stuff and then play it back and record more on top of it. Um, and so it was literally with keyboards. I'd record the drums out in my garage and then layer keyboards on top of it. And then I started making music in GarageBand on my Mac.
Yeah.
And that was great because at first they get, you get this whole library of loops. And so my earlier stuff was made with a lot of the prefab loops, and then I'd mess around a little bit on top. Nowadays, I sometimes I'll use loops for some percussion, but
Hmm.
most of the time I'm just building everything from scratch. But it's great because I'm just hitting keys on my, you know, on this keyboard,
Yeah.
but playing, any range of orchestral instruments or what
Yeah.
have you. And yeah, I can just do layer, and build scores. I've been doing that for a long time, and I love it. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
thing. It's like I I love all the parts of making the movies. It's like I like the writing, I like
Yeah.
shooting it, I like directing it, I like cutting it together, I like doing the music. So I do like all this stuff. So musically, yeah, like in the bands and stuff, I was playing drums
Okay.
and doing some singing. But then as far as making music for the movies, it was a lot of just, and I don't really know how to play piano, but I could fake it and do synth type stuff. And again, now I'm doing just building stuff in GarageBand.
So you would mention that in 1995 you decided to make a serious go of it. Where was your life headed at that point in time, or up to that point?
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, good question.
Hmm.
When I was 11 and we moved from New Jersey all the way to
Yeah.
the other side of the country to Oregon, my dad bought into a business out here, and so um, that had happened.
Yeah.
I always mention this. I'll mention this again. I I was out here. There was an independent TV station out of Portland, Oregon. It was KPTV Channel 12, and they showed all kinds of movies. They had like reruns of Gilligan's Island and Star Trek and stuff like that, but they also
Yeah.
showed a lot of genre movies, and they showed all the Planet of the Apes movies, Dark Star, Silent Running, just all kinds of stuff that I loved.
Yeah.
And so one day they showed this movie, The Alien Factor, made by Don Dohler out of
Yeah.
Baltimore, which I can't remember exactly when I saw it, but it was within a few years when I moved. And so this was the thing that struck me was, I Baltimore has Baltimoreans have thick accents, especially in this movie, right? And not unlike Jersey accents. And
Hmm.
when I first moved out here, I had an accent, but I was just going into sixth grade, so I mean it didn't last that long.
Yeah.
But the thing was, here was this movie that, I mean, it was a low budget, scrappy movie, but it looked like all the areas I grew up in, right? The architecture, the cars, even like the grocery stores. It's like, oh yeah, that's like where I was from.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up. And people had the accents that was like that. And it all looked like, and they were shooting a lot of like out in the woods and stuff like that, which looked just like by my house because of course, it's all the states are small right in that area, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not that far from where I was at. And it was such a weird thing. It's like, wow, it was just like this weird, almost nostalgia effect watching this movie. But at the same time, I had the feeling of, wow, I could do that. I mean, these guys made rubber monster suits and they shot in their basements and out in the woods. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I could do that. Right. And really, that was a really inspiring point um, in making movie stuff. That I realized, wow, here's this guy. I mean, I didn't know him. I subsequently talked to Don Dohler several times. It was
Oh yeah.
great, but I hadn't even heard of him, didn't know about him, and but that was a big inspiration to me, doing stuff. So I was out here. I went to high school. I went to university, got a degree in graphic design, and got a job doing marketing for a local college.
Hmm.
And when I graduated college, some friends also uh, founded a comic book and game and collectible card store.
Oh, cool.
And so in 95, the store had been open. I think we opened at the end of 89.
Yeah.
And so I had met all kinds of people through the store, either just plain customers, or we also ran live action role playing games.
Okay.
So, like we'd rent a space at the fairgrounds or whatever, and I wasn't heavily into that.
Yeah.
I would help out with stuff, but yeah, there was this whole circle of people that would dress up and come to Vampire the Masquerade was mostly
Wow.
what they did, but we'd sponsor it, and I would make props and paper things that had to be part of the plot. And anyways, a big circle of friends who were into that,
Yeah.
which plays into later. I met a lot of creative people through that shop, and in particular through those games, because the mindset of the people that would dress up and go role play all night long as a
Yeah.
vampire you know, there's a certain type of person that would do that, right? There's a similar type of person that probably would be like, yeah, I'll be in your movie and you can cover me with fake blood, right? So I actually had gotten out of the store at that point, and was and like I said, I had gotten Draculina magazine and alternative cinema through the store and discovered this whole world of stuff. So that's kind of where things were, right? I had
Yeah.
met this circle of friends, and so that circle of friends uh, and friends I still, knew from high. I mean, the guys that I ran the store with were all guys I knew from high school, right? So,
Okay. Yeah.
um, some of those guys are in my movies to this day. And so that formed the basis of the cast. A lot of it is, it was friends and then people from the vampire games that were like, oh, they, they already had a cool leather outfit and a
Yeah.
corset and they had their own vampire teeth and they would get covered in blood and do crazy stuff. And so, yeah, so that's how the first bunch of movies happened.
That's really cool. That's very forward for live action role playing to take place at that time, because it didn't
This
really
was
become popular until 2000.
Yeah, like early 90s. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking like 92,
Yeah.
93, 94. Yeah, Vampire the Masquerade was hugely popular
Yeah.
at our store, and of course, then we'd put on these events, which would then garner more attention.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many games we did, but
Uh,
many of them. I
that'd
mean,
be
one time we did a game that was set in a club.
yeah.
We actually reserved space at basically a mall in town, and we had three bands play. So it was just like a
Oh wow.
real like kind of
Yeah.
rock club, and we had bands come in and play. But at the same time, there was a game going on. All these people wandering around and doing little, um, working their schemes, etc.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that would have been a really good time to own a game store. I don't know about now so much, but it's
Yeah.
dominated by card games now. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
I was
Yeah. I
just
mean,
starting
right
back
at the
then.
tail end, right when I was getting out of it,
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering came
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
We
I was in high
we
school
rode
then.
the wave of like the Image Comics and the
Yeah.
speculator market. That was all going on. Although, truth be told, we were literally across the street from the university, and so we had our big audience was independent comics,
Yeah.
Dark Horse Comics, and Fantagraphics. A lot of indie comics from Seattle, and so we were a bit of an oddball because
Hmm.
we had a big following for that type of stuff. Rather than the bulk of our business being superheroes, but at
Yeah.
the same time, there was a lot of superhero stuff going on.
So, what were the first steps that you took towards making Dimension of Blood? When it came time down to it, you're like, okay, Joe, now I'm going to make my first movie. I'm going to make Dimension of Blood. What was the first thing that you had to get out there and learn?
Oh wow. Well, I don't know that I learned it. I mean, maybe I learned everything making shorts and stuff
Yeah.
like that because I had done things where I built little effect, things like that.
Yeah.
So I had done that stuff. There was a friend of mine, Tom Schaefer, who plays the main character in Dimension Blood, and I have to say, he and I kind of developed that together. He would come in and hang out at the store quite a bit, and so my whole idea was I loved the X-Files, right? That was a big thing.
Yeah.
But I also loved like Roger Corman movies, the exploitive type of B movie stuff. And so that was my idea was I'm sort of melding the two. I've got the, men in black with dark sunglasses and suits type of thing going on and a conspiracy and a mystery, but there's also kind of exploitive elements. There's people are melting and there's goo and just weird stuff. So um, he and I actually, I don't, so it was that was the mindset of writing it, and I did sort of write
Yeah.
it with him. There's chunks of it that clearly he wrote that. In rewatching, it's like, yeah, that's super weird. People watching me like, yeah, that doesn't sound like Joe at all. Well, that's because it wasn't me. Um, but yeah, just I used everything I had. I was working at this other college at the time, and so we shot there after hours at night in my office, and even in the hallways and out in the atrium. And then the Oregon State University is in the town where I'm at, and so we went down to campus and shot at campus. Used that. Used
Mm.
several people's houses. I built a head and torso prop for this one melting scene, so we could cover it with pudding and sort of push pudding out of the mouth that was melting. We had a scene where a girl plunges her hand into a guy's heart. This is actually a dream sequence. Spoiler alert, it's a dream sequence. But she plunges her hand into his chest and pulls out his heart. It's built like a styrofoam chest and for the effect. And my friend Rob and I went out. I was trying to find like a heart, like a beef heart
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
They didn't have it, at the grocery store. They didn't have any, so we bought like this big soup bone that had some meat on it, and just covered it in blood. And she, punches her hand through the shirt that's over the styrofoam, and then pulls it out. Looked great, but all that stuff was similar to things I had done in the shorts, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sure that I had to learn anything specific. It was just more that rather than it was a lot more planning than the other stuff.
Right.
It wasn't just, hey, we're going to make a thing and I made a mask, come over.
Yeah.
It was like we had a script written out, and I'd, you know, many, many shoots over a few months
Yeah.
to get it done. So I guess that's the way I took it more seriously.
Right.
Was really putting a lot of more work into the pre-production. And then the post-production was interesting. My dad actually had, he was doing this business consulting business, and had purchased a 3/4 inch tape editing setup I think from a TV station.
Hmm.
And so it was already antiquated. It was
Yeah.
like they were getting rid of it. But he helped edit that first movie together. And I remember I would sit next to him, and he, would sort of run everything. And then we'd run out to the kitchen and record a sound effect because we realized, oh, we need a thing here. And one point someone's getting attacked. And so like we went up to the kitchen, and I threw myself on the floor and sort of made a bunch of noises. And then we went back down and dropped that in. And then, so the next movie I made was Monster in the Garage. And at that point I knew enough that I actually edited that on his equipment. So yeah, progressed from
Yeah.
there.
Well, how did you go about distribution? Did you try did you find a company that was going to distribute it, or were you selling it at conventions?
Yeah. So, this was in a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I did have a website. It was, my email was AOL. So it was, it
Yeah.
was a long time ago. And this was pre MySpace. I mean, I was connecting up with people on AOL and in chat rooms
Yeah.
and stuff. That's how, I was connecting with people then. But, to your point, I had I was with the comic book store. We had done comic book shows all over the state, and so I would still do some comic book shows. So I would sell my homemade VHS tapes at the shows. But also I, put it up on my website, and you had to order with like a check or money order or something. And I sold a few that way. But Draculina magazine, they had, I mean, the whole last, I don't know, 10, 15 pages of their magazine was all ads for movies that either they were selling or other companies
Yeah.
like Tempe Video, Alternative Cinema, who knows what. Wave Video is a big one too.
Yeah.
And so Hugh, the guy that published that, he had started up a label. He thought, hey, I could get in on this. So so he actually started selling, I actually did a Dimension of Blood, Monster in the Garage double feature tape. And so he was selling that out of his magazine and his website back then too.
Wonder if there are still any copies of that floating around out there.
They're floating around. There's that. I don't even know exactly how many I made. That's the thing. After a while, I would get, subsequent movies. I was getting about 100 copies of each when I'd get them duplicated.
Yeah.
And so, a bunch of those early movies, that's all there ever were. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. I've run into some collectors recently that, have managed to find some or are really looking for them. And it's, you don't even see them out on eBay much because there just weren't that many.
Yeah.
But yeah, so not a lot out there.
So you've been doing this for several decades at this point in time.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't seem to stop.
how has how has the indie landscape changed over the years? For the better or for the worse?
Yeah, well, it never sits still, which is good and bad. Yeah, just talking about the first tape and Draculina and this and the other thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it got to the point, then MySpace blew up. I connected with a lot of people on MySpace that were horror film fans, or local people that would be like, hey, I want to be in your movie. And then of course Facebook was a big thing. Production wise, I mean, that first movie, Dimension of Blood, I shot on VHS. That was
Yeah.
the format I shot on because that's all I had. And then edited on a tape. So you had to dub the footage to a tape, and then that tape had to be dubbed to another tape
Yeah.
to do the edit. So you're already several generations away. I moved from that to what they called high 8 or 8 millimeter tape, which
Yep.
was just smaller, and then eventually to mini DV, which I was probably 10 years behind on that. And then it wasn't until 2016 that I
Yeah.
actually got a DLSR camera and started shooting digitally onto cards. And actually, that's what I shoot on today.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. It still works, and I know enough about it that I can get it to do what I need to.
Yeah.
But so technology wise, that has all changed. And then I was editing tape to tape. Eventually, my dad gave me that system. I brought it to my house, so I still was cutting movies together on that up into the early 2000s, and then started using iMovie on
Hmm.
the Mac. I would actually edit the movie in sections, and then I would work with a friend of mine to kind of string those sections together for the eventual movie. And then I'm not sure what year it was, 2012 or something. I got Final Cut Pro
Yeah.
and love that, and have been using that ever since.
Yeah.
So yeah, so all that's changed, technology wise. So I can go, like it used to, you'd have to in real time, you'd have to shoot some stuff and then play the tape in
Yeah.
real time to even just upload it. Even if you're uploading into the computer, you're sitting there for an hour just letting the tape copy, right? I
Hmm.
mean, now it's so crazy how quick it is because you just pop the card in and it's like, I'll drag these down. Okay, drag
Yeah.
them over. Here we go.
Yeah.
I love it, but yeah, it changed quite a bit. The thing that I often tell people,
Yeah.
especially when someone's like, what advice do you give to filmmakers? Blah 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 blah. It's like the basic stuff is still the same. You still have to have a great idea. You still have to figure out how you're going to show that idea, or, how you're going to shoot that to show what you need to do. You're still going to have to find reliable people.
Yeah.
You still have to find places to shoot, and you still have to get props. I mean, I suppose some people are doing a lot of green screen stuff now, but you still have to plan out that production, right? And unless you're just doing stop motion animation or puppets or whatever, you're still gonna have to rely on people. So,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to find people, and then you're gonna have to deal with people flaking out, dropping out, getting sick, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Um, you've got to manage people. I mean, I always try to keep the tone on my sets really light. I mean, it's helpful that a lot of times I have a lot of humor in my things, but even
Yeah.
when we're doing serious stuff, the I try to keep everything on set light, and we're always joking around, having a good time because, I want everybody to have a good time, so they'll come and do more stuff later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
So that stuff is all the same, whether you're shooting on 8 millimeter film or a red, Dragon camera, or an old VHS camera or whatever, or your phone. None of that matters. You still have to plan it out and then get people to help you and be in it or whatever, and then make it happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes by force of sheer will. So and then distribution wise, that
Hmm.
that really changed a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I had some movies that I had worked on that were on Netflix when it was just disc rentals.
Yeah.
I mean, that was super awesome. There was a movie I was a DP on for a friend of mine that got into Blockbuster Video,
Yeah.
which was no Hollywood Video. Sorry,
Okay.
Hollywood Video, which was crazy because like I took the photo of the actress that ended up on the cover,
Yeah.
and there was a Hollywood Video by my house. And so, one day I walked down to Hollywood Video, and there on the shelf was this movie that I made, shot, and with a picture that I took on the front of it. And, at the time that was mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, that's all gone, right?
Yeah.
When they don't do the disc rentals anymore, the video stores for the most part are gone. The chains are gone. And, streaming is great because like I have my own Vimeo channel. So
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of my movies up on Vimeo that, you know, people can see. And that's the thing for me. It's not like I make a lot of money from it, but for me, it's like at least it's there. And if someone wants to see, movie X, I'm like, oh, it's right here. It's
Hmm.
like $2.99. You can rent it, but at least it's here, right? It's
Yeah.
not like not available anywhere. And I've made a lot of movies for other people. I've made a lot of movies for Dave Sterling Entertainment recently,
Yeah.
and a bunch of those got on Tubi and
Hmm.
other places. And some of my stuff is on Amazon, which is mind blowing because
Yeah.
I'll hear from people in Turkey and other places. There was some guys in the UK that sent me a picture. There's a movie I made called Odd Noggins, and these
Yeah.
guys discovered it on Prime and loved it so much. They loved the character, Mr. Birch, this
Yeah.
mysterious weirdo from another
Yeah.
dimension. And they did a screenshot of him from the movie and had this giant banner made to hang up above their couch in their living room and sent me a picture of this. I mean, that blows my mind. And,
Yeah.
going back to like Dimension of Blood, I never would have imagined that would happen because, of
Hmm.
course, I wouldn't imagine streaming movies and worldwide, this and that and the other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is cool to me. The fact that through streaming and different, the
Yeah.
having stuff on the web, people around the world can find these weird movies that they love and resonate with that they never would have heard of otherwise.
And yeah, absolutely. And they can also connect with each other online to say
Yes, right.
which of your movies are available in which country. So if you have a
Yeah,
VPN service like I do, I had to
true.
switch my VPN to the United
Oh,
States to see some of your stuff. So
oh yeah, sure, sure. I'm
yeah,
not that tech savvy,
yeah,
but yes, I totally get it.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool. Um, so you've dabbled in a lot of different genres. Like you've done giallo, you've done sci-fi, you've done slasher, you've done cosmic horror. You've done all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. So what is your favorite of those genres to work in? Or the
Um,
subgenres?
well, I think horror is probably my favorite genre
Yeah.
overall. It's always it's been interesting the last bunch of years because yeah, I really have done more things. I mean, the like I did this movie A Knife in the Dark, which was
Yeah.
written by somebody else. That was a script that was brought to me with a production package, like here's the deal. And the interesting thing about that was yeah, it was definitely a Giallo movie, but they had it was actually originally called American Giallo. That was the name of the script.
Hmm.
A new producer came on board and they basically were like, yeah, we need you to tone everything down. There's no nudity, minimize the gore. We want this to be, pretty
Yeah.
tame. Well, that's an oddball thing for a Giallo.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, I took the job. I'm like, yeah, I could do that, sure. And so it was interesting because when that came out, people were sort of like, yeah, this is not like Joe's other movies. Like, where's all
Yeah.
the skin and where's all the blood and everything? It's like, yeah, but that was the guardrails that were put on the
Yeah.
project from the get go, and I agreed to it. I mean, I'm fine with it, but it was interesting to work within that and see how much I could push, dolly shots and interesting angles and lighting
Yeah.
and stuff like that to try to give it a good feel almost without having to rely on the shock value of some of those things. And then, like, I did a movie a couple years ago called The Haunting of Heather Black.
Yep.
That was inspired by watching. I just got into I don't know what the word is, a zone. I was watching a lot of made for TV horror movies from the 70s,
Yeah.
which is its own kind of genre, right? And with its own trappings. And I really like the vibe of a lot of them.
Hmm.
And so that was the inspiration for that. And so as a result, it's kind of tame, but also it was really interesting to try to pull something off that was small with a small cast, but really echoed back to the things that were in those movies. On the other hand, like I made these sex comedies. Something Strange Things Happen at the Weird House,
Yeah.
which the first one I almost made accidentally. I mean, it's a long story, but I mean, I was shooting stuff. A friend of mine was shooting a movie, and I was going to be there all day. I only had a small thing to do. And I thought, how can I've shot at this house many times. All my friends will be there. I should take advantage of it, right? But I didn't really have a project that would lend itself to it. So I made up some stuff that I could shoot in the foreground while he was shooting his movie in the background.
Yeah.
And I told him about it. Ahead of time. I said, hey, I got this idea. And he's like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. So I didn't know what I was going to do with the footage, but I thought I'll shoot something.
Hmm.
I did that. Everybody thought it was hilarious. We ad-libbed some other things on
Yep.
set. I still didn't really know what I was going to do with it. And then my brain just started coming up with ideas of like, oh, well, you could do this. It sort of attaches to that scene that you made up. And so eventually, a few months later, like I had this bizarro, crazy movie that I kind of threw everything into, and it was really popular.
Yeah.
And so I've made two more of them. I just finished part 3 earlier this year, and I love it. I've stuffed so much stuff into it. And it's funny you talk about genres. I did a
Yeah.
whole section that is science fiction. It's I built models for it. I had ships on fishing line.
Yeah.
I did some green screen stuff with people in different costumes, alien outfits. I made a cantina scene.
Yeah.
It's all one chunk of the movie, but boy, I had a good time making that. And I was sort of aiming for that kind of Jason of Star Command. You
Yeah.
know, you just go with, oh yeah, that looks kind of cheesy, but that's the point, and I'm okay with it, type of thing. So that was a blast, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, horror overall, I think, is the genre I like the best. But it's been fun to push into
To
a
dabble.
few other
Yeah.
areas, like you said.
Mhm. It's interesting the movies you brought up there, because I was going to say A Blade in the Dark, and I have it later in my interview guide here that I've created.
Oh,
Um,
Knife in the Dark, yeah.
sorry, A Knife in the Dark and The Haunting of Heather Black. Those are two movies that they have enough Joe Sherlock still in them to know that they're yours.
I love
But
that. I love that.
yeah, But I appreciate the movies like that too because those are movies that I could review on my channel. A lot of the others ones I can't because YouTube has rules.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but those two I definitely can. So that's really good. I'm glad that you're doing those ones too. And the Strange Things Happen at the Weird House I watched this afternoon. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, crazy, but
Yeah.
fun. And everybody
Yeah.
involved just, it's so goofy that
Yeah.
they really have an extra good time, I think.
Hey, have you ever seen the YouTube channel Game Sack?
I don't know that I have.
No? Okay, well, Kirk Sardonis looks an awful lot like the host, Joe Rediford.
Oh,
Like
really?
almost exactly. Like their
Well, I'm
dog
going to write that down.
yeah, Game Sack, it's called.
All right.
So
Yeah, I'll tell you,
yeah.
uh, Kirk is a guy that I met through the store, and he did the live action gaming
Oh,
stuff.
really?
That
Yeah.
he's a perfect example of a guy that's where I met him, and
Yeah.
yeah, still doing stuff.
That's a perfect segue into my next question because I love that you've developed a family of people that you work with consistently, and
Yeah,
including your actual family because your son is in a lot of your movies too.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
there aren't many filmmakers with your longevity that have been around as long as you have that have been able to pull that off. I can probably count them on one hand, and you're one of them. Um, so how does that feel to have developed this community of players around you?
It's interesting. I would say Don Dohler's one of those guys. Like he had a
Yeah,
few key people that were in all his movies all the way through.
yeah,
Um, I it's interesting. Several are people I went to high school with. So I mean, I literally have been friends with them
yeah,
since middle school, really. And it's been cool that they're still a part of these projects to this day. Um, but it is interesting because there's been waves a little bit.
yeah,
There's a bunch of people that I did a chunk of the early movies with who either moved away or got married and moved away or had a kid and moved away.
yeah,
Usually they move away, but for one reason or another, get involved in other things and they're like, oh, I don't really have time for this. It was fun, but I'm not, not available. Um, and things happen. Like my friend John was making a movie, John Bowker, Platoon of the Dead for J.R.
hmm,
Bookwalter, and he needed kind of a new bunch of younger actors, and so he put an ad in the local college newspaper and found some new people who were fun to work with. And so subsequently, I worked with them in a bunch of my movies, so you can sort of I haven't actually gone back to really parse out like phases or chapters, but
yeah,
really there are a few. It's like here's a bunch of these, and then I started here's a new group of people that became infused in the activities because of this one particular movie. And then, oh, they were in this and this and this and this and this and this. And then many of those people, one got pregnant and the other one, a couple moved away. Right. So
yeah,
suddenly a bunch of those people were out of the picture. And A Knife in the Dark is a good example too, because that was one where they said, uh, no skin, minimize the gore,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But I was also given the directive, you need to get younger, fitter people for this movie. And I get it because
Yeah,
my friends were all in their 50s, 40s, 50s,
yeah,
whatever, and we're not the 20 something uh, you know, attractive people that they really wanted to fit those roles, and I
yeah,
actually, got it. So there were a few people I could reach out to, but I really did have to find some new people. And luckily, Kate Schmidt, who
yeah,
is the lead in Heather Black, she
yeah.
this is the craziest story. She and her boyfriend were watching Tubi. They
Hmm.
saw Things 5, Strange Monsters,
Yeah.
an extremely gratuitous movie. Anyways, they saw that and loved it,
Yeah,
and like looked me up online to discover, to see what other movies I had made, discover that I was local, and filled out my survey. I have a button on my website that says "Want to be in a movie," right? It just goes to a little Google survey
yeah,
about what you're interested in, where you're at, stuff like that. And yeah, so filled that out, and I did almost kind of what I did was for Weird House 2, Strange Things Happened at the Weird House 2. I actually
yeah,
did kind of an audition with her. But I said, if this goes well, there's actually some scenes we could shoot, So she met me down at this house, and I had her do a reading, which was fantastic. And I said, well, that's great. do you want to do these scenes? And so the first bunch of scenes where she plays this character in the movie, we actually shot right then that day.
Yeah.
Um, and she's just, I think she's just a phenomenal actress. And so it was only like a month later that I got this deal for A Knife in the Dark. So I was like, hey, I've got this part. You do this. And she's pretty much she and her boyfriend have been in everything since.
Wow.
And it's just, I look at that, and there were a couple other new people that I got for that movie that have been in subsequent movies. Liz Ming has been in a lot of stuff. So I sort of see that almost as another chapter. It's like I
Yeah.
got Knife in the Dark was really, I got a bunch of new people. And then even the couple movies after that, I got a couple more new people who are now, I would consider part of the core group. I made this movie, this killer clown movie that's not out yet, called Dead Eyes Behind the Painted Smile.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say like my latest crew is in that, right?
Yeah.
But my friend Rob, who I knew from middle school, he's in it too. My friend John, I knew from middle school, he's in it too. So a bunch of the people that have been in a lot of things for a long time are also still part of the stable.
John is the
But
suit guy from
what I often tell people is I
Yeah.
started with friends, right? And then
Yeah.
it became friends of friends. I mean, literally there was one shoot where I did, um, there was a girl that John and I knew, and she was in a college class, and she was just talking to her like desk mate
Hmm.
about what they were doing this weekend. And she said, oh, I'm going to be in a movie. My friends are shooting a movie on Saturday. And the friend said, oh, that sounds cool. And she said, oh, you should come along. So she
Yeah.
did. I put her in the movie, and then she was in a bunch of movies after that till she moved away.
Oh.
So yeah, it just had, and I'll go to conventions. I'll show things at,
Yeah.
film festival type of things. I'll show things at like theater pubs. And a lot of times I'll meet people at those events. And, I say, oh, well, they're like, I want to be in these movies. I'm like, well, here, go to my site, just fill out the little form, and I'll, that way I'll have your contact information. So it happens sort of organically that way.
So I'll tell my friend Jeff O'Brien to go fill out the form on your website because
He
he
may
wants
already have, the problem is,
to.
I mean, I'm in Oregon
Yeah.
and pretty much I just make stuff here and it's all micro budget. So,
Yeah.
it's great that people are, that happens all the time, to be honest. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a statement at the top of the question there that says,
Yeah.
listen, unless you're gonna come out
Mhm.
here, you're probably not gonna work. So, but I still have people. I had someone from Phoenix, Arizona, the other day sign up, and
Yeah.
it's like, that's cool, but I'm probably not going to shoot down there. You're probably not going to travel here. I mean, every once in a while, like Mel Heflin. I mean, Mel
Yeah.
Heflin was suggested to me by producer David Sterling. I can't remember which movie it was. I think it was Axe Grinder 3. And
Yeah.
he said, you got to use Mel, reach out to her. And so I did. And she was actually in Japan at the time.
Yeah.
And yet she shot all this footage for this movie within a movie. It was actually a Jala movie within a movie.
Mhm.
and I shot scenes of myself as the mass killer.
Yeah.
But she shot all this stuff over there that I was able to cut together with stuff here and make the little movie within a movie. That was great. So there's sometimes when I'll do
Yeah.
that, someone can shoot remotely. But more often than not, it's easier to, unless it's going to be something that literally like is on a TV. It's I'm just going to work with people around here.
Yeah. Mel is
Yeah.
wonderful. Mel is I'm
She is
proud
great.
to
I've used her in tons of stuff.
yeah, I'm proud to call her a friend. She's really great. She's how I met
Yeah.
you. So
And she's funny. And the thing is, she's funny, and she has no qualms about stuff. And
yeah.
I mean, I did this movie after that. I did two movies for Dave Sterling. They were sequels. They were sort of sidequels, I call them, to
Okay.
Deadly Culture, right? And so
Yeah.
he was looking to do more movies in his various franchises, and so I had the idea that not following the characters from that Deadly Culture movie, but following the secret formula. There was
Yeah.
like a secret formula in there. I was like, well, what if that secret formula was stolen, and
Yeah.
then this is what happened? That was my idea. And so he was like, yeah, that sounds great. So again, there's a movie within the movie, and
Yeah.
and the movie within a movie is a wacky sci-fi thing. And so I knew Mel could just shoot herself on the green screen, and then I
Yeah.
could comp it all together with stuff. And she loved it. I mean, I loved it, but she was like, I'm so thrilled to do this. I'd always wanted to do some sort of, uh, Stella Star, Barbarella, sci-fi heroine type of
Yeah.
character. And there it was, even though it's a small thing, and it was silly and goofy too. So
Yeah.
she really had a good time with it.
Now I've seen those two, and that reminds me of a question that I was gonna write down, but I didn't remember, but now I remember. There is a running theme in your movies of having a coroner eating a sandwich or eating something while they're working.
Yes.
Is that intentional.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I can't even take credit. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
a trope I had seen in various movies and always thought was hilarious. Um, I can't even remember what movie it was. There's a movie where, oh man, I'm gonna mess it up. I think it was Clive Barker and Stephen King, and I don't know who. Some of those guys like
Mhm.
played coroners in one of their buddies' movies or something like
Oh,
that. Right?
oh, it's the one John Carpenter's
Was it Body
film
Bags? Is that what it is?
Body Bags. That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I mean, but I know I'd seen it in other things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love that as just a running gag, especially if the sandwich is really messy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. There's certain things,
Yeah.
yeah, that I guess I just dig, and I keep putting
Yeah.
it in there.
So let's talk about Connor. I love how you brought Connor into the film world of yours, and it's been interesting watching him age over the years in the movies too.
Yeah,
He's a really good guitar player, like I said, and I can feel the proud dad energy coming through in your movies.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, the first time. Well, I was gonna say the first time he was in a movie was when he was 2 years old. Um, in a movie called We Need Earth Women. But now I was talking to my friend John the other day. I think he might
Hmm.
have been in. Well, it doesn't matter. He was just. I mean, he was like a little 2 year old dad anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was that. But then, um, yeah, like he's in Drifter. I think he
Yeah.
was. I don't know, 15 or something.
Yeah.
Um,
He looked like a
he
teenager.
was a high school kid. And he
Hmm.
played a high school kid, and it was that worked. Um, but yeah, I mean, a Knife in the Dark. Really, he really um that was a big deal. I
Yeah.
knew it was like, okay, well, I got a son who's the perfect age for what you producers are asking for, right? And he's got the big hair, so that's quite a look. I think
Yeah.
I really that was a big thing that I threw at him
Yeah.
to do, and I think he really took on the challenge and tried to
Hmm.
do as best he could, and he's told me that he really benefited from working with all those other people.
Yeah.
Kate and Liz both had a lot of theater experience, and Ian to a certain extent, and so which is good and bad. Sometimes people who do a lot of theater, you find yourself constantly telling them to tone it down because they're
Yeah.
used to being so broad.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes that happens, but not too much with them. But it was just great for them to commiserate in between all the shots because I
Yeah.
think he was, running lines with them, but I think he was really learning a lot because
Yeah.
this isn't what he does. So but he told me he really learned a lot from doing that, and
Yeah.
it was great to have him in there in such a big role. And the scenes he did with Jackie, I thought were great. That was the first day of stuff we did, and he had to sort of get in her face, and she had to slap him and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, I thought it turned out well, and he really, I think, had a good time with that. And then, yeah, so like he's in Heather Black, and that was
Yeah.
certainly leaned into his guitar playing for that because he
Hmm.
plays guitar in the movie, but also for the soundtrack for that. I mean, I was aping that '70s movie, TV movie sound for a
Yeah.
lot of the synthy stuff. But then, he and I actually composed together a few of the tracks, which he said was really fun. That was different because a lot of times it'll be, oh, I have this, I laid down this track. I need you to play on top of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have an idea, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's like, oh, like in GarageBand, I'll use the guitar setting and I'll actually record, here's the riff, and so I'll
Yeah.
play him a kind of a scratch track of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then he plays to that. But other times it's like, I'm not really sure what we need here. And he'll, work some stuff up. And that's really fun from a creative
Yeah.
standpoint to do that as well.
Hmm. I'm going to ask you a tougher question now.
Okay.
In all of the movies, the 30 plus movies that you've made so far, which was your favorite?
Mm. I get this all the time. I
Oh,
was
do you?
vending at
Okay.
an event. I actually don't do that many vending events, but I was at one
Yeah.
Saturday and I
Yeah.
got that question about 10 times because I just have all these movies laid out on the
Yeah.
table and it's a bit much for people to walk up and take. And so they're like, well, which one's your favorite? Right. And so I always gave them the answer that I have two, which
Yeah.
is a little bit of a cheat, but The Haunting of Heather Black, I really like. I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's not people say, yeah, it's not like your other stuff. And it's not that I like it because of that. I just think it really gelled together the
Yeah.
way that I don't know. I don't there's a free documentary that I made, 44-minute documentary making of that
Yeah.
movie. that I'll send you the link if I didn't send it to you
You
already.
did. I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet, but
Yeah,
I have
it's
watched
on
the
my
movie.
Vimeo channel and it's free.
Yeah.
But you know, you'll have to talk to me after you watch it, because I
Okay.
made that in a weird way. It was like
Yeah.
I had the basic concept and I started setting up people, and I ended up getting the first couple shoots all set up, or at least the first big weekend set up before I had a script.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was writing the script, but the script was such that I had kind of the main story of her going to the house, but then there were all these flashbacks, right? And I kind of knew what the flashbacks needed to do.
Yeah.
But when we shot that first weekend, I hadn't actually written the flashbacks. And
Mm.
so it was subsequent to that that I actually wrote the flashbacks and kind of filled in, where they were going to go.
Yeah.
And so it was a very different process for me. And it was more
Hmm.
seat of your pants and more I don't know how to explain it. It's quick organic kind of just weaving stuff together, because the even the story was sort of coming together as the shoots were coming together.
Yeah.
And it and so there's just this different energy to it. So I really like that one.
Yeah.
Plus, I wrote it, I shot it, I cut it together. Connor and I did the music. I mean, it's just so uh it's all me, right?
Yeah.
The other one I really love still is Drifter, and that's from like
Yeah.
20, I think 14 when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, that was just I love the tone of that. It was because it's a horror movie, but there's plenty of little funny parts to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's goofy. And
And it's
my
got a
friend
good
Steve
twist.
Sessions,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Steve Sessions did the music, which I think is fantastic.
Hmm.
Pulls it up even another level. I thought and Bob did a great job. The Drifter character never says a word, right?
Yeah.
And um, that was and when he when I told him that, he was a little
Yeah.
bummed initially, but then he was like, "Oh no, I get it."
Hmm.
And since we're shooting out of sequence, he actually had a whole process where, I mean, he and I talked about the fact that the Drifter kind of, he changes over the course of the movie,
Yeah.
visually and his mental state.
Yeah.
And since we're shooting out of order, he sort of figured out this numbering system on, okay, what stage am I at, so
Okay.
that we could adjust the makeup
Yeah.
accordingly, and his mindset on where is he and how his mind is.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I yeah, and
Yeah.
I was really impressed with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and the whole twist thing, I like how that turned out. So I
Yeah.
just yeah, so those are my two. If
Yeah.
push comes to shove, that I'll say my favorites.
All right. So that kind of segues into the next question. Based on the response about Heather Black, you rate the majority of your productions. What is your regular writing process like? How long does it take you to get an idea from in your brain to on the screen?
Mm, that's a good question,
Mhm.
because um because it varies.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something that uh I don't know. I don't have an easy answer for stuff.
Yeah.
Partially because I get ideas from everywhere. I'll get ideas from stuff that happens in my real life, or stuff that happens in other people's lives, or a movie I saw, or you know,
Yeah.
some other a song or whatever. Um, so there's not like one source for that. And often, almost all my movies, when people ask me, "Oh, where'd you get this idea?" It's
Mhm.
usually like two, if not three or more things. Like, well, I had this idea, but then I also worked this in, and then then I pulled this in.
Yeah.
So there's multiple things coming in. And so sometimes I'll start, I'll make a bunch of notes, and then it just sits there for a while. I use Google Docs a lot. So I'll just make a new
Yeah.
Google Doc. I'll type a bunch of notes about this cool idea I had while I was on a walk, or while I was, driving from here or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then it'll just sit there for a while, and then I come back to it later. Or sometimes I'm really excited about it, and I'll, just start cranking away on it.
Yeah.
I've done this so long with so many of the same people and so many of the same locations, that it's hard for me to write something without thinking of who's going to play
Yeah.
that part and where
I
am
would
I going to
imagine.
shoot
Yeah.
it, which is, it's good in a way, because
Mhm.
I make sure I write stuff that I can pull off. But on the other hand, sometimes it's like, I gotta keep in mind, like, don't limit myself. Maybe I'll come up with a cool idea, and then I'll end up finding the place to shoot that, or find the person to do it,
Yeah.
or at least get it written that way. And then maybe I have to scale it back or change it because I can't really get this,
Yeah.
um, but as far as the time goes, I mean,
Hmm.
it can vary from, banging something out in a few months to, starting something years ago and
Yeah.
coming back to it later. When I did, so I did this movie Odd Noggins,
Yeah.
and So the character Mr. Birch is in it, that my friend Dale plays, and we
Okay.
had done a short called Dinner with Mr. Birch that ended up being in the Channel 99 anthology movie.
Hmm.
But there were a couple other ideas we had worked on. Another Dinner with Mr. Birch, and then Mr. Birch Gets a Maid was the other one. And actually, then there was a third idea, which was um, inter what is it? Interdimensional Bounty Hunters was the Mr. Birch and the Interdimensional Bounty Hunters, which I never actually wrote out fully, but the other two I actually wrote out as full scripts
Yeah.
that were, I don't know, maybe 10 pages long or something like that, that we were going to do. We thought, well, we'll just do a bunch of shorts with this weirdo character.
Yeah.
And, one thing leads to another. We never got those made. But almost 10 years after I did Odd Noggins, I had several ideas for a sequel. And I had said, I'm not going to do a sequel unless I have really good ideas. So I got an angle, which was another one of those things where it was like,
Yeah.
it was doing an homage to this other movie. And by doing that and taking those short ideas and mixing in a few other things,
Yeah.
an homage to another movie, suddenly I was like, oh, that feels like what I want to do. And so those shorts probably sat around, 8 years or whatever, not being made. But then I ended up incorporating them into the whole script for
Yeah.
Otter Noggins.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Otter Noggins. I can remember some of that stuff happening for sure. The
Yeah.
Intergalactic Bounty Hunters. The
Yeah,
maid
that's
was in the
right.
first one though, right? Where he got a maid.
He got a nurse in the first one, like
Oh,
an
nurse and then
in-home
maid in the second. Yeah.
nurse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In the
Gotcha.
second one, the maid comes to the house, but she's actually
Yeah. She's a
casing the
secret
house
agent.
to rip it off.
Yeah. Or no, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
a bad
Yeah.
guy.
The secret agent, all that stuff
Yeah.
was there's a movie called Double Agent 73
Yeah.
made by Doris Wishman, who made a ton of exploitation movies in the
Yeah.
60s and 70s. And so that's that whole spy story
Yeah.
with the camera in the breast is all stolen from that movie. I mean, I call it my homage to that movie. And yeah, so that's where that storyline
I
came
was
from.
gonna say the boob camera is genius. It was very funny.
Yeah, I did not come up with that. I have to say that's like I said, if you watch that movie, you'll be like, oh, now I get where he pulled that from, and he pulled that from,
Yeah.
and he pulled that from. I just
Yep.
took kind of some pieces of that, and then the Tanya Atomic plays this woman who runs a cosmetics company, and she ends
Yeah.
up turning into a kind of a bug monster. That's all taken from the Wasp Woman, a Roger Corman movie from
Mm.
the 50s, I think. That, yeah, I love that movie too, and so I sort of took that storyline and wove that in a little bit too.
Do you ever have to do crowdfunding for your projects?
I have done that a few times,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, I first did it all the way back in 2000. So it was
Wow.
before there were any
Yeah.
platforms. But I had a website and I had an emailing list.
Yeah.
And I had a snail mail list too. And I would do these little, trifold mailers
Hmm.
promoting my movies and stuff to a mailing list. And so I was making a movie called Underbelly, which at that time was a departure for me because it was like an erotic thriller,
Yeah.
although it was a bit humorous because the lead character was kind of a nerdy guy. But it was, there was no sci-fi, no monsters, no aliens. It's all just straight, people. And anyway, but I did do. So what I did was I sold
Yeah.
producer packages, and for
Okay.
$100, you'd get your name in the movie as a producer. You'd get a copy of the movie when it was done. I made up a little certificate, and I had gold stickers I'd put on there. But you also got sneak peeks at the progress of the movie via pages on my website that weren't linked from anywhere. So I would
Yeah.
like send the link out after we do a shoot. I'd make a page, I'd take a bunch of screenshots or whatever and write up a little bit about how the shoot went and make a page. And then I would email that to the people that had, signed up to be producers. So they were getting a peek at how it was going. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, this was before any of those
Yeah.
platforms existed. And so I did that. And then I did it again for my movie Twisted Fates, which I'm trying to think of the year. That was 2003, 2004, 5,
Okay.
whatever. But the same thing. I reached out to my email list and my snail mail list, and whatever. I don't even know what social media I had. I mean, certainly MySpace. I don't know if Facebook was in the game yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, did that again for Twisted Fates, and then I did it for a few other things, like Otter Noggins. Actually, I did it for.
Oh, did you?
But I've
Yeah.
never used a platform, so I always did it
Okay.
myself. I would
Yeah.
I'd set up a page on my website with PayPal buttons, like if you want to get,
Yeah.
a lot of times I'd have pre-order the movie for like $25 or whatever. Like you get a special thanks and you pre-order the movie
Yeah.
and a postcard or whatever. And then, I'd have higher levels. And as for several of these things, I would do things like artwork for Channel 99, actually. Um, this is sort of after the fact rather than beforehand, but in that movie, I did a H.P. Lovecraft adaptation for Pickman's Model, which is all about this painter who paints these monstrous visions, right?
Yeah.
And so for the movie, and I play the painter, I actually created 5 paintings of the monster for this gallery scene, right? So after the movie was done, then I auctioned the posters off or the paintings off on eBay, which helped raise money to make copies of Channel to get my duplication done for Channel 99. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Similar with Strange Things Happen at the Weird House. They have that
Yeah.
whole paint and wine scene where they all
Yeah.
are drinking wine and they're
Yeah.
painting their breasts and pushing them onto canvases to make
Yep.
art. I auctioned that artwork off after the movie was done to raise money to then get copies of the movie duplicated.
Oh, nice.
So that's a reverse crowdfunding, I suppose. But I
Yeah.
haven't done the platform. The only thing I was involved in, I was a producer and a DP for Monos Returns,
Okay. Yeah.
because the sequel to Monos
Yeah.
Fate. It was a great experience, and we got 3 of the original actors from the original movie to be in it. It was a wild experience, but they did a crowdfunding campaign, and I did the artwork for it, but I didn't run the campaign.
Yeah.
The thing to me is, it's like it's easier for me. I feel like if I do a big campaign
Yeah.
through Indiegogo or one of these others, I would have to spend so much energy promoting it and
Yeah.
really keeping it out there and keeping it going and all this stuff, that I just feel like I'd rather put that energy into making something,
Yeah.
making a movie,
Yeah.
So I get, people are very successful with that, and that's, more power to them and everything, but just not my bag at this
Yeah.
point. It's easier for me. I still have a big mailing list, and so frankly, it's easier for me to just throw a message out and say, hey, I'm going to make a new movie. If you want to get in on it,
Yeah.
Here's a couple levels. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that would throw a little bit of money towards that if I needed
Yeah.
to do that.
You've got that benefit of having that community that you've cultivated for the past 30 years.
And that is the key word, man.
Yeah.
Cultivated. It is.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just, I've been around enough and stayed in touch with them. I mean, I still do an email newsletter, probably every couple months, just to say, hey, here's the stuff I got going on.
Yeah.
And it works for me.
Now, before we move on to the lightning round, and I don't know if you're aware of the lightning round or
I
what,
am.
all
Yes.
right. So before we move on to the lightning round, do you have any upcoming projects that you'd like to talk about? Stuff that's coming up soon?
Yes. So
Okay.
there's 2 movies that I've made that are not released yet. One is the third in the Strange Things Happen at the Weird House
Yeah.
series. And, I dare say it's the best one. It's just so crammed full of ridiculousness
Yeah.
that I think people dig it. We had a cast screening, I don't know, a month or so ago, so that I could get people together and watch it, but also get a few cast interview segments. And
Yeah.
everybody laughed their heads off and they were like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is so funny. This really turned out great. So I'm really anxious for the world, or certainly the fans of the series, to
Hmm.
see that, because and that's the one that all the sci-fi stuff's in. I
Yeah.
just feel like I crammed it full of so many jokes that it's, the pace just keeps going. The other thing was, last year I finished a movie for, these are both for Sterling Entertainment.
Hmm.
And it's called Dead Eyes Behind a Painted Smile, and
Yeah.
it's a killer clown movie. I mean, it's about a serial killer who puts on a clown outfit, and there's a reason in the movie why he does that.
Yeah.
Which I guess I could tell you that in the movie, the main characters work at a theater, and they're showing a new movie in this ongoing franchise of
Yeah.
a killer clown franchise inside my movie, and people come to see the movie and they dress as clowns for it.
Yeah.
And so there's all these people dressed as clowns. It just so happens that one of them is the serial killer. And
Oh.
so then you have a killer in a clown outfit for a reason, and then the
Yeah.
movie continues and the bloodbath ensues. But I really like how that one turned out too. I've got
Yeah.
great people in it. Kate's the lead. I have some really cool gore effects. And so I'm anxious for people to check that out. They're both just sort of pending
Yeah.
from the distributor, but that's the next 2 things I have coming out. I've
Yeah. I
been
saw.
working on some movies for my friend John
Mhm.
Bowker in the meantime, is what I've been busy with.
I saw the trailer for the Killer Clown movie before The Haunting of Heather Black, and it looked really
Oh
good.
yes,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I really love how it turned out. And
Yeah.
that was another one that was like I know the guy that manages the theater, and
Hmm.
so this indie theater in town, and so yeah, we spent 2 different days there shooting stuff in the theater, which was great. It was like, talk about production value. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I could fake stuff in my garage. I mean, I fake corner offices and
Yeah.
in my garage, and you know this and that and the other thing. But like to actually shoot in a big location like that with actual theaters, theater seats, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
was fantastic. That was great.
All right. You ready to start the lightning round?
I'll give it a shot, man.
Got a special one for you right over here.
Okay.
All right, here we go. What's your favorite Universal monster?
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, that's a good one. That's the first time I've heard that one. Uh,
Yeah.
Toilet paper roll, business in the front or party in the back?
Front goes over the top.
Hanging over the top. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Only one person has almost answered that wrong, and everybody else has
Yeah, it was
answered it
Marcus,
correctly.
right? Yeah, he said it's on top.
No, no, that was okay. Jamie Greffy almost said that, who works with Greg Hutnaka, also Cinema Epoch. Some of your movies have
Oh,
come out
okay.
through him. He started to say that it hangs down the back, but then he thought better of himself and said no, over the top.
Yeah.
Weapon of choice in the zombie apocalypse.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. I guess a rifle. I mean, I just don't want to have to get close, you know?
Yep, yep, that's tricky. The problem with rifles though is the ammunition, right?
Yeah, I guess. I
Yeah.
guess.
All right, favorite band or musical artist?
Kiss. That's an
Kiss.
easy one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Although it's funny
yeah.
because I mean, Kiss is definitely the top. I saw them
Yeah.
13 times and I have all their
Mhm.
stuff and I'm a big, huge Kiss fan. But I like metal, Priest, Quiet Riot,
Yep.
Iron Maiden, all that stuff. But I also like Barry Manilow. I took my mom to see Barry Manilow and it was great.
Yeah.
And, I like jazz fusion and synthwave stuff. So I like all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. But
Oh,
Kiss is the
cool.
favorite band.
Yeah, it hit me hard when Ace died last year too.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah,
sucked, man.
it was bad. I listened to
Yeah.
Alive probably 47 times on
Oh,
Spotify after
yeah.
that.
Kiss
Yeah.
Alive. Kiss Alive 2 was the first album I got.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, longtime fan.
Yeah. Ninjas or pirates?
I think Pirates.
Pirates? Yeah. That's a good one.
It could be more fun.
Yeah. Marvel, DC, or other?
That's a good question. I would say, okay, my answer is going to be Dark Horse. It'd be other Dark Horse,
Okay.
and I say that based on back when I had the store. I mean, I got, I subscribed to Batman and X-Men and Wolverine. I like all that stuff. Avengers. I love the Avengers.
Hmm.
But Dark Horse had just started up really when we opened the shop in the early '90s, and they had gotten the license to Predator.
Yeah.
And like we had the artist that did the Predator comic in our store. It's one of our big opening activities,
Yeah.
and it was like before, uh, and that was because I think his wife was in a college class with the wife of one of the guys that was one of the owners of the shop. It was
Yeah.
one of those weird things, like,
Yeah.
and then that guy Chris Warner blew up and became very popular on the circuit. But he came to our store. Nobody knew who he was, but he had made the Predator comic,
Yeah.
which again, early on, people were like, "What, huh?" And then that thing exploded. So Predator, Aliens, they did Aliens versus Predator.
Yeah.
They had RoboCop. They had Terminator. Plus, they had all kinds of creator-owned stuff. Trekker was a good one. That's a sci-fi adventure one.
Yeah.
So I always thought Dark Horse put out really cool stuff. It was a mix of that pop culture licensing stuff. Oh, Star
Yeah.
Wars. They eventually did Star Wars.
Oh, did they?
Um, yeah, Dark
Yeah.
Empire and all kinds of
Oh, yeah.
Tales of
Yeah.
Star Wars,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also a lot of creator-owned stuff that
Uh-huh.
was oddball, Concrete and just a bunch of oddball stuff that I appreciated, being a fan not only of mainstream stuff but also alternative and small press stuff.
Hmm.
So that's my answer, Dark
All right.
Horse.
Dark Horse. Now, I've seen a lot of your sets, and some of them I can assume are your home. I've seen someone at least has a pretty impressive retro game collection. So, what is your favorite video game of all time?
Well, it's Mario Kart because it is so fun. I mean, that's probably a lame answer, but yeah, man, that's what I mean. If we're going really I mean, Centipede's my favorite
Yeah.
cabinet game
Yeah.
by far. There's still a pizza place in town that has Centipede,
Really.
and
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for it because I get to get my Centipede fix every time I go there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if that I don't know if Mario Kart counts as in
It
your old
counts.
school, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Just because it's a blast. I mean, there's not much
yeah.
to it, but I have a lot of fun with it.
Are you still playing games to this day? Do you still play games?
I don't play a ton.
No.
Honestly, my son's the one that played games a lot, and so
Yeah.
I would, I'd play, Star Wars stuff and like I said, the Mario Kart and different
Yeah.
things with him. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we got, when I was growing up, we'd go to the arcade and do all
Yeah.
the cabinet games, and then I had a Nintendo. We actually got a Super Nintendo as a wedding present, um, and
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
we had Mario Kart, and I played Xevious. That was another one I liked a lot. I
Hmm.
wasn't very good at it, but I liked it a lot. So
Yeah. In The Haunting of Heather Black, I did notice that there was a PlayStation 4 box and a PlayStation 5 box in the basement, but I'm weird and I know these things, so.
see, that's not my house. I was
Oh,
gonna say,
okay.
I'm trying to think like who are you talking about because I don't have a lot of stuff. It's probably that other guy's house. Yeah,
Yeah.
the basement definitely.
And
That was
the
that's
other
the weird house. That's the weird house.
the
Yeah.
Weird House, because the Weird House is where I saw the retro game collection as well
Okay.
in the
There you go.
cabinetry. So it's
Oh
that
yeah,
the same
yeah.
house. It's that guy's house. Oh, okay.
That's that guy's house. It's a great place. It's a
Yeah.
great place because it's
It's a weird
huge.
house.
It's huge and it's a little weird because it's
Mm.
old. I mean, it's not ancient or anything, but
Yeah.
it's the basement. I mean, there's a room in the basement that has like wood paneling and stuff.
Yeah.
I've shot lots of things in there, but that could exist as a completely different place as upstairs, which looks a little more regular. Plus, he's
Mhm.
got a garage. He's the one with the hot tub. So
Oh, the hot
I've shot
tub.
a ton
Okay.
of stuff there
Yeah.
and I've shot several things there where I've literally made that space work for like 4 different locations just by, if I shoot down in the basement, that could be anywhere. And then that
Yeah.
one room with the paneling looks like it's in a different house. Um, and then, yeah, this room, that room, whatever.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What's your adult beverage of choice?
I do like Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah. I'm gonna have one of those
I'm
when
not,
we're done.
I'll drink beer, but it's usually the lighter beers or the
Yeah.
fruity beers. I kind of like that. But yeah, Mike's Hard Lemonade is, I like that.
I've got some Mike's Harders in the fridge waiting for me when we're done this interview. So.
There you go. There you go.
Cats, dogs, or other?
Um, I'm a dog guy. I
Yeah.
was allergic to cats, and I think I am still a little. But I've had a couple dogs, so I'm a dog guy.
And if you were a dog, what breed of dog would you be?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I would want to be a medium-sized dog. I mean, hmm, I don't know, probably like a beagle or something like that.
Okay. And one last question. What's your favorite television show of all time?
All time.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man. I thought I had these all figured out, man. Um, ugh, you can cut out all this thinking time.
I
Um,
think it's funnier if I leave it in.
yeah, probably is, right? See, it's the all time, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because that's a long time.
Yeah. Why don't we go 80s then? 80s. In your formative
Yeah,
years.
I was going to say
Yeah.
Buck Rogers in the 25th
Okay.
century
Yeah, that works.
because I do like all that stuff,
Yeah.
um, yeah, like Arc 2 and Jason of Star Command.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The-
Buck Rogers, the first season. I don't know if you watch Buck Rogers or not, but yeah, the first season, definitely. So
Okay.
I guess I'll say that. I was going to say X Files, but it's like, is that my favorite of all time? I'd really, really liked the X Files.
The X-Files
But
works too. Yeah, we can have more
yeah,
than one
yeah.
answer. It's good.
All right. Well,
All
there's the
right.
two answers.
All right. Well, you survived the lightning round, so
All
congratulations.
right. All right.
Joe, thank you so much for being here. I
Well, thanks
really
for asking me, man.
I really enjoy your movies. Like I said, I
Awesome.
can't review a lot of them on my channel. I do. I do still enjoy them though. I watch them. I appreciate what you create, and I'm happy that you were able to join me for the chat. And you're a true classic. You've been doing this for years. You found your niche. You're operating within it, and you're still going. So I hope we get to speak again in the near future.
Yeah, man, I love that. Yeah, that would be great. That would be
Yeah,
great. I appreciate you having me on and blabbing about my stuff. And
yeah,
thanks to everyone who bothered to watch it.
yeah. Thanks to Mel Heflin for introducing me to Joe. So,
Yeah, boy, thanks to Mel. She's
mhm.
great. She's great. I shall work with her again.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. See ya.